Sports all plays. Yeah. All sports all plays. All sports all plays. 365, we making a plays. We talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they work in your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports all plays.
All right. What is up, everyone? It is Wednesday. We are getting into the spring. We have had a crazy March Madness week with everybody's brackets being busted. Like, literally, they said 98% of them were all destroyed, which is upsetting. Thank goodness I didn't fill out a bracket. And Kentucky fans, WTF. That's all I got to ask is WTF. How do you lose to St. Peter's? That's all I have to ask. It's just how. But obviously the NFL offseason continues to get crazier and crazier and crazier with each passing day. Somebody's like, no, F it. Tyreek's down there somewhere. Like that's at the point where we're at. Speaking of Tyreek, he is now a Miami Dolphin. Miami traded 5 picks for Tyreek Hill. A first round, a second round, a fourth round, and a 6th round, if I remember right. Three of them for this year, 2 of them for next year. The 4th and the 6th round for next year. So, Joe, I'm going to start with you. Does this fix Tua? But we know Tua's not really the deep shot kind of guy. But they have one hell of a wide receiver core now, because now you have Tyreek Hill, you have Parker, you have Jalen Waddle, and you have Gesicki as your top 4 targets. Offensive line is okay, and obviously defense is their strong suit. They still kind of need a running back, but they believe they fixed that with
Mike McDaniel.
True, Mike McDaniel. No, the running back out of that they got from Arizona.
Oh, Chase Edmonds.
Yeah, Chase Edmonds. So do you think this fixes the Dolphins, and do you think this puts the Dolphins now where they could even contend for the AFC East?
I guess it all depends what you think Mike McDaniel's offense is going to be, because if he comes from the Shanahan tree, they're not necessarily known as the spreading it out, throwing it to 4 or 5 different guys, which is the offense they have right now. They come from a scheme where they love to run the ball. They love to punish people. They signed Teron Armstead to a big money deal, which we thought was going to be the biggest thing that Miami did this week. No, that wasn't. But here's the thing. Now, what you don't have is you don't have a Deebo Samuel. You don't have a Brandon Ayuk that are a little bit bigger bodied receivers that can help in that run game. Is this the answer for Tua? Maybe, but we've also seen Tua and other Alabama quarterbacks do better when they have a solid run game. We saw that Mac Jones looked really good with the Patriots when they ran the ball well. We've seen that with Jalen Hurts. When he ran the ball, when the team ran the ball well, he looked better. So Tua, yeah, it's not necessarily the down the field stuff that he's not good at, because he does throw a nice deep ball. It's the outside stuff. He doesn't have the arm strength to get it in that middle 15 to 20 and force it between 2 defenders. The unfortunate thing is now with Waddle and Hill, you have 2 guys who run those specific routes, and you have a quarterback who you're not sure can get the ball in there. So, I mean, is this the answer? I don't know. I mean, are they going to be like literally a 10 yards in team where everything's going to be screens and, quick outs and slants and all? I mean, I don't know, maybe. But to me, the reason Miami does this trade is because they did not give up either one of their 2 first rounders next year, theirs and San Francisco's. You can make this trade now, because if Tua isn't the guy and you've invested in Waddle, Parker, Hill, Gesicki, all these guys, and he's not the answer, you can then go get a quarterback next year. So to me, this is to be determined for Tua, but this is the future for Miami.
Okay. Yeah. Amon, do you think now they've got the wide receivers, they've gotten everything on the outside, like Joe said, that Tua could potentially want in a wide receiver core as far as help goes. Obviously, they beefed up the offensive line with Teron Armstead, which was a big deal. Do they have enough running back power to be able to go forward? Or do you think that, because I'll be honest with you, partially as a Michigan State fan, and I feel like he's being a little bit slept on, do you think Miami goes for someone maybe like, Kenneth Walker out of Michigan State as a decent running back for them? Because again, obviously it's very rare we're going to see running backs ever go, top pick in the draft, especially this year, because it's not like we had a lot of big running backs make differences with the exception of Kenneth Walker. Do you see Miami maybe leaning towards that as well as continuing to rebuild that offensive line for Tua?
Yeah, I can absolutely see them taking a running back late. And you see it all the time with the 49ers and Mike McDaniel was there. They'd pick up running backs, whether it was they were undrafted free agents or it was late round picks. They would go out there and get these guys you've never even heard of. And Kenneth Walker's a name that I really like. I liked him at Michigan State. I thought he was one of the better backs in the nation. And Pride wants to keep saying that Tyreek is the best receiver in the league. That's based off the morning show. It's all sarcasm. Don't worry. None of that's true. Pride isn't that much of a casual. But I think they continue to they continue to go and help the running back room. I think if you can go running back by committee, use Chase Edmonds in a couple of different packages, and then balance that out with a couple end arounds with Waddle, with Tyreek Hill, they can do some different things and get creative. Again, I think Joe hit it on the nail. Is how good is Mike McDaniel? Right? Is Mike McDaniel that guy? Is he going to be the great play caller that Deebo Samuel's making him out to be, or is he just going to be another guy who is basically just underneath Shanahan and just doing what Shanahan tells him to do? So, it all depends on that. I think now they finally have a situation where they can evaluate Tua, whether he's the guy or not. And as Joe said, they still have those picks. If they decide, okay, he's not our guy, even after getting him this help, they can go and draft, if it's CJ Stroud of Ohio State, if it's another Alabama quarterback in Bryce Young, whoever is going to be next year, they could go in that direction if they wanted to. So I do think that, they're going to go and help this running back room because they want to evaluate what Tua is and if they see Tua as part of their future.
Pride, I see you. Okay,
we see you, Pride. We know you're there.
I want to acknowledge something else. This trade comes because Tyreek saw what Devontae Adams got and wanted the money. He then signs a 5-year, $120 million deal, which essentially is really a 3-year, $72.2 million deal. He gets $52.53 million in guarantees. Like, this trade happened so quickly is because 10 days ago, the negotiations fell apart. We see the Adams trade, which I was shocked at. Amon, you weren't shocked at. Tony, I'm not sure if you were shocked, delighted, overjoyed, whatever you want to describe. And literally Tyreek says, now I know what the market is, and now I'm going to go get my money.
Yeah, and I mean, you think about it, that's really what a lot of players do at different positions. We saw it when Aaron Donald finally broke his big money. What did Khalil Mack do? I want that, but I want a tiny bit more. DeMarcus Lawrence saw that and he said, "Hey, I want that, but I want a little bit more." That's all it ever takes is it's the one position. It's like a waterfall. Everything, it's like a dam. It breaks. Everything comes rushing in after it. We saw Devontae get it. He kind of saw what DeAndre Hopkins got, and he said, "Hey, I'm good, if not better than DeAndre. That's the type of money I want." And then Tyreek said, "Well, hey, I'm just as good, if not better than Devontae. So that's the type of deal that I want." I know. To me, it's like, I mean, you're good, Tyreek. Don't get me wrong. Like, I've seen you make some crazy catches. Like, I really have. But to me, Tyreek's big thing is he can burn you with his legs. Like, he is a speedster. That is primarily his thing. Again, he's got solid hands. Not going to deny that at all. But if I got a 6'4" corner and I got Tyreek Hill, as long as Tyreek could burn that corner and, have him beat on coverage, yeah, I'm going to take Tyreek. But if not, if it's man-to-man and he's able to keep up, no, I'm not going to trust Tyreek in that one.
Again, the thing that just worries me is Miami. And again, maybe they're not trying to play this style, but we saw when San Francisco and Mike McDaniel being part of that offensive strategy and coming from this tree. Again, that doesn't mean that's exactly how he's going to do it. But you saw a guy like Teron Armstead, and you're thinking, boy, okay, you run to that side. You can pull him out on passes and reverses, same as they were doing with his name's Trent Williams, in San Francisco. But again, there was some physicality to San Francisco. Again, Deebo Samuel was a man's man. Tyreek Hill, for all his talent, is not that player. Jalen Waddle is not that player. Devontae Parker is kind of that player, but he's older, so he's not going to be able to do the same stuff. So, again, maybe this is literally just the Alabama offense they're going to run. Speed everywhere, cover us, and stop us, because that's what you have in Gesicki and Parker and Waddle and Hill.
Yeah, and like Pride said, they have to open up the playbook for Tua, which again I definitely agree. But I think that all stems to a running back, because if Tua gets flustered, if say like Joe said, if they run the Alabama system and you happen to run into a defense because you're in the AFC East, like Patriots almost always have a decent defense, the Bills almost always have a decent defense, and for all things that is the New York Jets, the only bright spot they ever have is defense. So it's like, yeah, you're going to be in that situation. And I'll be honest with you, what is probably one of the best ways that you can break down a team, you can break down the morale, and you can open up those passing lanes, have a run game that can beat down that offensive line, beat down those linebackers, and even if it's only 4 or 5 yards a carry, it doesn't have to be a lot. I don't need 10 yards plus carry. I mean, if you could, great, awesome. But no, I want a bell cow running back that can, beat up the defense, and then I can open up those passing lanes and I can throw. And I do agree with Pride that, again, you guys know I'm never a big fan of Alabama quarterbacks. I feel like they are literally the product of the Alabama system. I know a few Alabama fans have argued with me to the day that they are going to die that that's not true. I look at this, there's first round talent every single flipping position at Alabama. All of their offensive line is damn near first-round talent. All of their defense is damn near first-round talent. Their wide receivers, first-round talent. Tight end, running back, all of it. The only thing that's ever first-round talent and never lasts more than 5 years in the league as far as being a starting quarterback is quarterback. The starting position is the quarterback. And we've seen it. AJ McCarron was probably one of the best ones. He's been a career backup his entire time. He started a playoff game for Cincinnati and wasn't good enough, A, to keep the job, and B, wasn't good enough to win at least one game. So, I'm never sold on Alabama quarterbacks. And am I a hater? Obviously. But I also have logic to back up me being a hater.
So, the only thing Tony could hate about Alabama quarterbacks more is if they were number 11. That's literally the only thing he could hate more about Alabama quarterback. Number 11 Alabama quarterback, Tony's all in.
Yeah, I swear to God, if it's a Michael Pittman, swear to God. Speaking of inside joke, right? Speaking of Michael Pittman, he now has a new quarterback throwing to him. The Colts traded for Matt Ryan, which I can't tell you how many memes I've seen on TikTok, on even I think CBS Sports got into this whole hating Atlanta thing because they traded him for the third round, 82nd overall pick, and they of course immediately flipped that to 28-3. And I'm like just let it go. I get it. It's going to be the meme for the next 30 years in the NFL is 28-3. I get it.
We're okay with that.
But let this
I'm good. I'm so good.
Yeah, because you're Patriots fans. Just let this man do his thing.
You.
You need to get a Sharpie and you need to draw.
I know. I need to draw. I know, man.
So Aman, I'll start with you. Do you think now that Matt Ryan has one of the probably top 5 offensive lines in the league, you have easily a top 5 running back, you have a top 5 defense. Now he has basically everything around him that he almost had at Atlanta. Question mark at wide receiver. If anybody tries to tell me Michael Pittman is a number 1, you're wrong. You are just wrong. You can argue with me about it. You're still wrong. You're just wrong. Okay? You're wrong. Exactly. 1 and 1. 1 catch, 1 touchdown. That's all you
11.
Exactly. Do you think that now this solves the Colts, quarterback issue, even though Matt Ryan is, I think, 36, so he's older, been in the league, 15 years with Atlanta. Do you think this now puts the Colts back in perennial contention? Because it's not like Matt Ryan's a bad quarterback. I felt like he was always successful with Atlanta, even in his bad years, where he's 7-10. They weren't losing any more games than that, and it was primarily due to a hemorrhaging defense. They've had no running game since Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman left. And it's not like it's for lack of wide receiver talent, because we still saw Julio, Calvin Ridley put up just absolutely crazy numbers, even for a, really a piss poor offense. So do So, Amon, do you think Matt Ryan puts Indy over the hump to where now they can actually compete into the playoffs?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what you get out of Matt Ryan is a guy who's solid. Again, he's not going to do anything bad, and he can make some big time plays. Yeah, you don't have the big time receivers. They could still go get Julio Jones. He's available. He could go reunite with his quarterback in Indy.
Yeah.
That's an option.
Give up the number 11, Michael Pittman. You lost 2. Now you can give up 11 too.
I was really about to say, what number is Julio going to wear? Because he can't wear 11. That's Pittman.
11.
And then he can't
Sit
wear
down,
2 because that's
Michael.
Matt Ryan. So he's got to pick a new number. So that'd be fun. But again, they're going to run the ball. It's going to be a Jonathan Taylor team. But I think what Matt Ryan does, he's not going to make a lot of mistakes. I think, what cost Indy at the end of last season was Carson Wentz kind of forcing balls into bad places, and the team didn't play well at all in the last 2 weeks. So you can't put all of it on Carson. But that team was right on the doorstep. And I feel they got a guy that's going to come in, that's going to work hard every single day. And again, he did not decline in Atlanta. I think he played pretty decently well. Again, he wasn't having his MVP year, and he probably wasn't worth the $35 million I think they were paying him. But again, he can be a quarterback that can win you games. I think they are the favorites in this division now after getting Matt Ryan. And I think they are now a team that's going to compete in the AFC. They have a Pro Bowl roster. You give Matt Ryan a Pro Bowl roster. And again, if you can get a receiver in Julio Jones, you get one through the draft, you're right back in business. This Colts team is right there with Matt Ryan.
Yeah, and Joe, and I'll turn it to you. What wide receivers do you go and get? Because obviously we saw Julio did not have a good year with the Titans. Whether that's because of age, whether that's because of injury, whether he just didn't fit in the system. And
going.
really, right?
Yeah, all those. Yeah.
All those. And whatever you want to put it for Julio, Julio may or may not be the answer in Indy, but I also feel like Indy has kind of missed out on a lot of this wide receiver sweepstakes. There is still, Odell Beckham Jr. out there. There's still Jarvis Landry. There are still productive wide receivers out there that they could go get. And I just wonder if they're like, okay, we need to figure out the quarterback thing first, then we'll go figure out wide receivers. And at least with Landry and Odell, you still got a little bit of youth there. Okay. You still got some moisture. You don't need to, to worry about the old folks Laker home yet to get to there. But do you think like Amon said, do you think they need to just try to hopefully build through the draft and hope that they can just get some really, really young rookie receivers and hope for whatever reason that Michael Pittman Jr. is going to be your veteran savvy receiver that's going to lead them? Or, what do you do?
Your hate of Michael Pittman Jr. is what drives me every day to get out of bed and go to work. I really do mean that. Our friend Anthony wrote, Ryan doesn't have receivers. They're going to run for 17 games. This is a team where, again, last year, Jonathan Taylor was the runner-up and you could argue was the 1B to Cooper Kupp winning Offensive Player of the Year. So you assume that the line is still going to be good. You assume that they're going to run. You've brought up a few flashy names in Julio Jones, who's 33 years old, but a very old 33 years old. A guy like Jarvis Landry, who's banged up. A guy like Odell, who's coming off an ACL. I want to put a couple names out there. Free agents. Listen, you're not going to go get a number one. You're not going to get a number one because we've seen the price of a number one, and you don't have your first-round draft pick. One and one.
Two number ones in number 11.
But I'm going to give you a few 2s and 3s that I think would fit well that need to be exactly what Matt Ryan has had in his career outside of Julio Jones. How about somebody like Will Fuller? He's had his issues with steroids. He's been suspended. He's 27 years old. He's a speedster. He is basically what you wished T.Y. Hilton could have been the last few years. He gets down the field. Maybe you play him on the outside across from Pittman. He's a guy, he's made a lot of money. Maybe you can bring him in on a decent deal, a 2-year deal, maybe around $17, $18 million. See if he works out. See where he's at. Another one, Damiere Byrd, a guy who's been around the league a little bit, 29 years old, had a decent season with the Bears last year, has also played with the Arizona Cardinals, also played with the New England Patriots. Again, these are veteran wide receivers. Nobody who's going to break the bank, nobody who's going to make it look, but that's not what you want. If you have the best running back in football, you don't need the best wide receiver in football. You need guys who can get open and catch the ball. You know what those guys can do, guys? They can get open and catch the ball. Again, is it perfect? No. A few other ones here. I'll bring one from you, Tony, if you want to talk about this. How about Tavon Austin, 32 years old? You want a speedster, a guy who's going to be super cheap? You bring him into camp. You see if he has anything left. He's a gadget player. Guess what? That's not a bad thing to have. is somebody, again, when you're running the ball and you want somebody to hand it back to or run these reverses, things of that sort, maybe somebody like Tavon Austin is somebody you could bring in. Again, is this the answer? I don't know if it's the answer with Matt Ryan. We saw this with Phillip Rivers where he looked pretty good, but then they had to bring him out for Jacoby Brissett to throw the ball over 45 yards. I don't think we're going to have that same situation with Matt Ryan, but there are players out there aside from the big names, the marquee names that everybody knows, that can actually help this Indianapolis Colts team.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree, and I know, you know, Dak kind of got a lot of grief for this, but it actually showed in Dak that he needed one. You know, we've seen a lot of teams. You don't necessarily, like you said, you don't need a number one to be successful. If you have decent number twos, you know, and I would say that's really the big thing is you have a wide receiver core by committee. Just the same as you have a running back core by committee, you have a wide receiver core by committee. And you know, you don't, like you said, I wouldn't mind Tavon Austin, you know, get the speedster, get a little bit of a gadget player. And obviously I think they are going to go for, you know, a couple wide receivers probably in the draft. I think Drake London out of USC is actually pretty good. I don't know if he'll be on the board by the time the Colts get to draft, maybe, because I know they still have their second round pick. I feel like that would be extremely solid for them to be able to use on him. You know, Chris Olave is obviously going to be gone. Mechie and Williams for Alabama are going to be gone. You could get
Jamison Williams. Is that the one who's recovering from the ACL? Maybe he drops into the second round.
Yeah, Williams. You could also potentially get Garrett Wilson from Ohio State.
He's probably going to go. He's probably going to be the first receiver off the board.
Really? I think there's a guy out of Penn State. I can't remember his name. We're number 5. Dodson? Is it Josh Dodson?
Yeah. Dodson's somebody. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's going to be options. It's a deep wide receiver class. In the second round is where you're going to find one of these guys that just falls through the cracks.
Yeah, and I feel like that's where they're going to look for more of, I would say, their number one body. Unless they think Michael Pittman's the guy, because 1-1, they got two number ones, right in one body.
Oh man. How about Martellus Valdes-Scantling? We haven't brought his name up here. Would you guys like that in Indianapolis?
As a Colts fan, as a Colts fan and a Packers hater, absolutely not.
He's apparently the heir apparent in Kansas City. Kansas City's meeting with him right now. He's going to make a little bit more money than I think people are expecting. So maybe, but I think you're going to have to pay him like a solid number 2 or a number 1, and he's a number 2 at best.
Yeah.
3. He needs good quarterbacks to make him look good. That's his shtick, because couldn't get it done with Aaron Rodgers. And like Joe said, if you have the number 1 running back, you don't need a number 1 wide receiver. Aaron, win a damn Super Bowl again. Stop being irrelevant.
We need to stop. We need to start treating him like Voldemort. He who shall not be named. Let's not even say his name.
You know who. You know who.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. Number 12 in green, in yellow.
The little, even Nate didn't give that easy a hint on Jeopardy earlier. Come on.
Right. But speaking of wide receivers that are now with different teams, we saw Robert Woods is now a Tennessee Titan, who also coming off of a big injury, was really what we thought was going to be at least initially, he was the key factor for why the Rams, I think, were failing until Odell kind of got a little bit more acclimated to the system. The chemistry was then developed between him and Matt Stafford. So now he goes to Tennessee, which on paper, you know, you've got him, you got A.J. Brown. They signed Austin Hooper from free agency from the Browns. And you have, of course, the 2,000-yard man himself in Derrick Henry. You also have a pretty crappy defense, if we're just being honest. Yeah, I mean, it's not great, but I would also say
last year they were pretty good last year.
Yeah,
I think they were better than expected. I think they overperformed last year. I don't think they can replicate that just based off the same roster.
They were, but like you said though, they overperformed, because to me it was like whenever I looked at Tennessee, it was like, okay, their weak spot is their defense. Like that's their big one. That to me is like, I don't trust Tennessee just because of that. So if you look at all of that, you'd think, okay, this is a Tennessee team that could be really dangerous, you know, in an AFC South now that is definitely more competitive than what it was last year. Jacksonville is beefing itself up pretty well. They've gone out and gotten some solid players. You get Brandon Sheriff from Washington. Finally give him his money. You have Trevor Lawrence. You have ETN. You overpaid Christian Kirk, in my opinion. Again, a number 2 guy that got paid number 1 type money, and we're going to find right.
Amon's favorite wide receiver. Amon's favorite wide receiver. Favorite guy.
Oh, okay. So Amon doesn't like. So Amon loves Christian Kirk. I love Michael Pittman. Joe, who do you love?
So let's talk about the Titans. No,
I mean, I know who your favorite quarterback is. I don't know who your favorite wide receiver is.
Oh, you mean in the realm of you guys' favorite wide receivers?
Mhm.
I would probably have to say, it actually probably is Amari Cooper.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's probably Amari.
I can see it. No, hey, as a Dallas fan, unless it's a home game, I'm like, yeah, no, no, fuck Amari.
Language, swear jar. Come on.
Hey, we're not on TV. It's okay. We can't get canceled.
Nobody's listening anyway.
Right? Yeah, we got no viewers. But obviously Ryan Tannehill is their quarterback, which again, we talked about this before the show. Ryan Tannehill's cap hit, if they were decided to cut Ryan Tannehill, is $57 million. $57 million for Kirk Cousins 2.0. Actually, like 1.5, not even 2.0, 1.5. Do you think that Kirk Cousins, and Joe, I'll start with you, Kirk Cousins, is Ryan Tannehill the reason why the Titans can't do anything in the playoffs? Do you think if they had maybe pitched a little bit more to Aaron, maybe if they were like, hey, Russell, why don't you come to Tennessee? Look at what we've got. We also have a decent offensive line. We have a running back. We have tight ends. People will want to come to Nashville then to be able to do this. And I would say it's a little bit of a bigger industry city than Denver is. And especially with your location, you're in a warmer climate. You're in Nashville. Sierra can kind of take advantage of that. You're also still close to Chicago. You're close to a lot of these big cities. Whereas Denver, you're in Denver. You're in the middle of Colorado in the mountains. Do you think Tennessee can finally make it roll now that he has, 2 solid wide receivers, a running back, and a good defense?
Nashville has like this little brother complex where they feel like they should be a big city and they tell everybody that they should be a big city and they act like they should be a big city. And then they look at like themselves and like, you know what? We're just okay being us. So that kind of describes Ryan Tannehill to me. He looks like he should be a top-tier quarterback. Sometimes he plays like he should be a top-tier quarterback. He gets paid like he's a top-tier quarterback. But I think when he looks in the mirror, he's like, you know what? I'm okay just being me, which is a little above average. No, listen, the Tennessee Titans 2 years ago succeeded because they had playmakers at 3 levels. They had playmakers because Derrick Henry runs for 2,000 yards. They had playmakers because Jonnu Smith at tight end was able to get those passes on the play action. They had playmakers because A.J. Brown and Corey Davis and the wide receivers, who at that time were very underrated and not the players they are now, were able to succeed. So again, this is what happens when you bring in Julio and you bring in AJ, 2 guys who run similar routes, which are down the field, comebacks, things of that sort. It doesn't work. The Hooper signing is really smart because, again, you're bringing back those 3 levels of offense. Hooper's a guy who can get 8 to 12 yards down the field and get open, which is what this Titans offense has always been about, of those leak out plays, whether it's play action, whether it's just spreading the ball out, things of this sort. So is Tannehill going to be able to succeed? I don't know. I mean, if Harold Landry has another career year, if the defensive, Bud Dupree plays well, if the linebackers and defensive linemen are able to get pressure at historic rates, maybe. I mean, really, we're asking the wrong question. Is Derrick Henry going to be fully healthy for 17 games? Is Tannehill going to have his Wentz 2.0 moments where he just throws these horrible picks at the worst times? I mean, I think we can all agree Cincinnati is not going to the Super Bowl this past year if Ryan Tannehill just falls asleep on the field. Like, that's just it. He literally could have taken a nap on the field, and Cincinnati was not going on to the next round because we know that you can blame. We hate to say, it's this one person's fault. They lost that game because of Ryan Tannehill. So is he going to mature as a quarterback? I mean, maybe, but it doesn't look like it to me.
Yeah, and And kind of the crazy part is when you say that he needs to mature, is because he's been in the league a hot minute.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting ready to look it up. So he was drafted. He's drafted in 2012. So he's been in the league 10 years.
10 years. Yeah.
And he's 33.
Mm-hmm.
He's thrown almost 31,000 yards. He's thrown almost 200. He's thrown 199 touchdowns to 102 interceptions, and actually came out of Texas A&M originally as a wide receiver and then converted over to quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And the crazy part is it's not like Miami had a crap ton of talent when he was there, but it was just crazy at how much he underperformed there. So I'm looking at when he was with Miami. In 2012, his rookie year, he went 7-9, 8-8, 8-8 the following seasons, 6-10 in 2015, 8-5 in 2016. Got hurt all of 2017 due to injury. His final year with Miami, he played 11 games, went 5-6, and then steps in for Tennessee, goes 7-3, 11-5, and 12-5. Throwing.
Sorry, go ahead.
And throwing some of his best statistical games. Really his last 3 years in 18, 19, and 20. Now last year he was pretty crappy. It was like 2 touchdowns to 1 interception ratio is pretty bad.
And let's not forget, he was a salary dump by Miami. Like, they literally traded a draft pick with him just to get him off the team. Like, his career was essentially over. A lot of people thought when he went to Tennessee, he was done for. Like, he was going to be the Alabama quarterback in Tennessee. He was going to be 5 years and done in the league. So this is the definition of a career resurgence, but it's, yeah.
Now, Amon, I'll ask you, do you think that, and this is honestly just a crazy little, simulation that we're going to throw out there. Hypothetically, say they do the same thing with Baker Mayfield. Say they're like, tell you what, Cleveland, tell you what, we'll trade you, we'll trade you this player, and we'll say, well, apparently the Browns wanted a first-round pick for Baker, which is insane, because that's not happening. But tell you what, we'll give you this wide receiver, and we'll give you like a 5th round pick to get Baker. And who knows, Baker, you sit behind Ryan, kind of like Ryan had to sit behind Marcus Mariota. Maybe Ryan struggles and Tennessee says, you know what, Baker, here's the keys. See what you can do. Do you think something like that would be possible? Or, do you really think that now Ryan Tannehill can not be Ryan Tannehill?
I don't see Baker working in Tennessee, to be quite honest. I don't trust Baker. I shared in the group chat earlier. It's a commercial, another commercial with Baker Mayfield. So it was very shocking. And he's like, and he's teasing the fact, he's like, oh, where am I going to be next? Like that's literally the whole point of the commercial, which was great. I mean, that's exactly what you want to see after your franchise says, you know what, we don't want you, and no one wants to get you for a 1st round pick.
But we're not going to.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think Baker works in Tennessee. I don't think Mike Vrabel puts up with it, to be quite honest with you. I don't think Mike Vrabel is about that stuff. And I just don't see Ryan Tannehill being much better either. I like the Robert Woods pickup because I think he is a very underrated run blocker, was very important in that scheme out there in LA. And what he can do, and as Joe said, he can be the 3-level guy. You can get AJ Brown going down the field. You can get him in intermediate stuff, and Austin Hooper can be your, kind of short play action rollout guy. But you needed to go get a Russell Wilson. You needed to find a way to get Aaron Rodgers or get any one of these quarterbacks. You needed an upgrade at the quarterback position. Baker Mayfield, to me, is not an upgrade. He's very similar to Ryan Tannehill, pretty limited. I think it's more of an attitude thing for me. I think physically, if you just stripped away the attitude, personality, maybe it could be a little bit of an upgrade, but it's not really a big upgrade for me if you were even to say one. So I don't see Baker Mayfield even doing much better than Ryan Tannehill. This team, again, they're good. They could be really good, but they just don't have a quarterback to get it done.
Ryan Tannehill is what happens if you put Baker Mayfield in a taffy stretching machine. Like, they're essentially the same guy. He's just a little bit bigger, a little bit more athletic, but it's the Spider-Man meme, the squint with glasses, and then you put them on. It's like,
Wait,
okay,
I thought that was Mike Glennon. I thought that's why Mike Glennon's neck was like just ridiculously long.
And he can see. That's a guy who can see over the offensive line.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. Surprised John Elway was like, I like him because he's tall. Well, speaking of, because I don't think we got to talk about this, or you guys might have talked about it last show, or maybe we didn't. Matt Ryan is now, a Colt. Carson Wentz is at Washington. Seattle is apparently going to roll with Drew Lock for whatever. More likely, they're going to draft a quarterback. But
are they giving him the number 3? That's my question. Are they going to? They can't give him the number 3, can they? Like I can't imagine he's going to number 3. Do they pull a Michael Pittman and just say, "No, 3 is my number," and you're going to suck it up?
Born 3 my entire life.
Tony, I want to let you finish that, but let's not pretend that all 3 levels of the Seattle franchise didn't kind of blame all of this on Russell Wilson. Like Pete Carroll, John Schneider, and the owners all released statements that were basically like, we didn't want to let go of Russell. Russell wanted out of here. Like they did it in the nicest way possible, but let's not pretend that Seattle kicked him out the door with no clothes on his back. Like Russell went to them.
Mm-hmm. And I'll be 100% honest with you. And, and Joe, I know you're not the biggest fan. I don't quite frankly blame him. Like, I know, like you said, you feel he needs a top tier defense to kind of carry him, which, I'm not gonna lie, I think that is true, but I would say the same thing for Aaron, because every Packers fan and their mama cried about how the fact, you have a defense. Shut up. Like, you haven't had a defense.
I'm gonna get Nichols here, and every time he brings up Rodgers in a conversation, I'm just gonna put Nichols.
Look, I'm about to get out of the military, sir. I'm about to be broke. I can't afford nickels, sir.
Nichols.
Pennies. Even then, I'm gonna have to take out a small loan. Thank you.
All right, finish your thought. You were talking about all the quarterback movement. Yeah,
all the quarterback movement. So, and if the season were to start right now, Drew Lock would be the starting quarterback for Seattle, which is right. So, does Baker go anywhere? It's most of the teams I feel like at this point are like, we have our starting guy, or we're gonna get one in the draft.
Amon, you want to take this? I want to speak on it, but go ahead and just talk about it because I've got something to look up.
Okay. Honestly, it feels it's kind of like going to be a mid-season thing. Like somebody gets hurt and they need a guy, and it's okay. We'll give you whatever you want for Baker. We'll give you something. That's what it feels. I don't think anyone right now at this point is going to go after Baker Mayfield again. If the asking price is a first-round pick, there isn't anybody. There isn't anybody that's willing to give a first-round pick. I thought maybe they could fleece out Michael Pittman. I'm not sure the Colts would be willing to give up Michael Pittman for Baker Mayfield at that, if they didn't get Matt Ryan. So I don't really see it happening. So I think he's gonna, if there's an injury somewhere, if like Mitch Trubisky gets hurt, they say, oh crap, we're not playing Julian or Mason. Let's go trade for Baker. That's the only thing I can see happening.
We still love you, Mike.
We always.
You're still always welcome on here.
It's been rumored that Pittsburgh is going to be all over Baker Mayfield if and when he gets released. I kind of posted that in the chat the other day where it's like, without any information, I'm like, I could see Baker getting released because people know that you're not getting a first. You're not going to give up assets. I want to give you guys a few teams. Now, keep in mind, Baker Mayfield has a fully guaranteed salary for 2022 at almost $19 million a year. Now, setting aside operating costs, stuff like that, these are the teams that have $19 million or more in cap space at this moment. We have the Jets, the Lions, the Chargers, the Saints, the Eagles, the Bengals, the Bears, the Browns, the Texans, the Panthers, and right now, the Chiefs. I mean, there's not many teams on there that even if you're giving a fifth rounder that you're going to bring this guy in. Like what? If you're the Panthers, you're going to spend $19 million when you have you traded assets for Sam Darnold last year. You're going to bring in presumably a rookie quarterback. Everybody right now, it seems that Kenny Pickett to Carolina is the world's biggest secret.
Willis.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe Malik Willis, but he could go number 2 to Detroit. Who's trading for him? You're not trading anything just because of the money right now. So again, all these people are like, oh, he's going to get a first or a second. No, he's not. He's a distressed asset. He's coming off of surgery. We've seen him exposed. We've seen what happens when he doesn't have a 2,000-yard running game. We've seen what happens when he doesn't have a top-tier defense. He's not that guy. Amon, you and I talked about it last week on my pod. This is a wasted number 1 overall pick. There's no other way to say it. They never made it to a championship game. He was never in the MVP conversation. Baker Mayfield and Russell Wilson have the same number of MVP votes, 0. So, again, it's just the way that it is. It was a miss.
And I kind of agree and I kind of don't. I agree with Amon, and I know I was putting it in the chat a lot. I think because, again, we still don't know if Deshaun is going to get suspended or not. More than likely, I think I think we can all probably agree he's probably going to get suspended. And I think at least Roger Goodell's probably going to do the whole like, oh, well, you're suspended for 6 games, which I think at that point Cleveland's going to be like, okay, Baker, you got 6 games to basically market yourself. Go. And they may not, but I mean, hell, I don't even think Case Keenum actually stayed with the Browns, did he?
No, but they picked up Jacoby Brissett and then traded
that's right.
Keenum.
They did pick up Jacoby Brissett.
So I mean,
Jacoby's not bad, but again, Jacoby to me is like he's very hit and miss because I've seen him on like very talented teams and he doesn't do much, which is kind of disappointing because I had a lot of high hopes for Jacoby and I thought for sure when he was in Indy, he had Frank Reich, he had a solid system, definitely a better offensive line. I thought, okay, this is going to be the guy, and it ended up unfortunately not being the case.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I think really the only thing that hurts Baker is just the fact that he is immature. He's childish. Like we all know that he's a diva. He's childish. But we've seen that with a lot of quarterbacks. They're quarterbacks. That's what they are. That's what they do. They're drama filled. They're childish. You look at Carson Wentz now. All the stories that came out before when Nick Foles finally won the Super Bowl. Carson Wentz is butthurt about that. That follows him all the way through Indy even. It's like, oh, Carson Wentz is still bitter about that. Obviously, the man who shall not be named up at North, he's obviously a huge, diva drama person that does it all the flipping time. So we've seen this happen. But, looking at Baker Mayfield's career stats, his rookie year, throws for almost 3,800 yards, 27 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. The next year, throws for a little over 3,800 yards, throws for 22 touchdowns, 21 interceptions. So definitely a step back. He regressed a little bit. But he also still had Freddie Kitchens as his head coach, I believe, at the time.
Yeah.
So that within itself is a freaking nightmare. He gets Stefanski. His passing percentage is 1% lower than his career high, which was his rookie year when he threw almost 64%. 2020, it was 63. Throws for almost 3,600 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. And then last year when he was hurt, he only played 14 games, 60% passing, 3,000 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. So, I mean, really, and I look at it like this. For Cleveland, this is like the best quarterback they could have gotten. Because, I mean, this is their best quarterback they've had since I'm pretty sure Amon and I were even conceived. So, this
How dare you besmirch Deshaun Kaiser?
Right, you're right. The man that also led them to 0-17. So it's like,
hey, Brian Hoyer was there. Brian Hoyer was there.
Hey,
he won in Cleveland.
RG Noni, number 2 overall pick, was there too. And Brandon Weeden, the old man.
Brandon Weeden.
So,
Brandon Weeden's my age. Shut up.
And he also came in old as dirt.
Yes, he came in very old.
He came in at 28. He was like a mad. It was crazy.
Yeah, 28, 29. Yeah.
Yeah, and after he played professional baseball, didn't he?
Yeah. Minor league baseball, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, minor league. Okay. But yeah, it's like he was really the best thing that they've had at quarterback. And I know one thing too that other people have kind of said how the Browns owner is like, oh well, we want an adult in the room. Well, you get a guy with a lot of controversy, as we're going to put it, around him. Is that really an adult, or are you saying we want an adult as in we want somebody who is more talented and we have a better chance of succeeding and winning with? Because if that's the case, don't put the word adult, just say we want a better quarterback. We want to upgrade, which is more realistic and better. Because again, I don't feel like Baker's bad. Baker to me is the kid that like. Do y'all remember, and Joe, you're going to have to go back to the 1800s for this. Do you remember in school, whenever you had the kid that's like, yeah, I'm the best on the team. Just give me the ball. I'm going to go out and I'm going to do everything because I'm basically the best person here. That's like Baker to me. It's like, yeah, you have your moments, you're good. And I think with Cleveland, because, 2020, they had all the talent they built around him. the whole Odell thing, him not having a good connection with Odell, which I honestly I don't think the whole Odell to Cleveland thing was even good to start with. I think that was just Cleveland needed a big name to attract other big names to come to it. I don't think that was really good for Cleveland. And I think Baker Mayfield was able to show, hey, I don't really need this. I need someone like Jarvis. I think Njoku was having a killer year. I think that was also the first year of Austin Hooper's deal, if I remember right. And then you, of course, have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt with a very talented defense that was actually like super injury riddled that year. So to me, I think Baker could still do it in the right environment. But and it's gonna, and Joe may or may not slap me for this. It kind of reminds you remember how Phillip Rivers just used to always trash talk? Like every game, Phillip Rivers was just trash talking people, and it was like he wasn't bad. Like you could win with Phillip Rivers, but you weren't going very far with Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers also had the benefit of LaDainian Tomlinson and Antonio Gates. Like really, that's kind of what it reminds me of. And Joe, I'll let you go because I've insulted you like 6 times now. Do you think
I'm old though? I can only remember 2 of them, so it won't matter anyway. Listen, I mean, Baker Mayfield is basically a game manager on steroids. Like he's the modern version of a game manager, where his stats are going to look good because everybody's stats look good. It's a passing league. It's what it is. Everybody's like Matt Ryan's going to finish top 10 all time and everything. Is Matt Ryan a top 10 quarterback? No. But he's going to look that way if you look at the stats. So, yes, Baker Mayfield can have some really nice stats in an offense when catered to him. But is he the guy? That's what I keep asking. Is he the guy? As much as you don't like he who shall not be named, there are times where you look at him and you just say, man, there's only a handful of guys who have ever played that can make that play. That's not Baker, and that's fine. But when you're the number 1 overall pick and you have the pressure and you have the commercials, whether it's on the Golf Channel or CBS or ESPN or wherever they're going to be, you have to stand up to it. And like you said, now it's quarterbacks and people in general, we're sensitive. We all get in our feelings. We all do that. That's fine. But like when you have that pressure, from day one, I don't know when I wake up what kind of pressure I'm going to have. You're the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft, Baker Mayfield. If you can't handle this, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, step up and be better. And again, to address something you said, Tony, Cleveland, the report about, they want an adult in the room and going after Deshaun Watson. Listen, we all know it's a dirty game. We're all part of the dirty game. We can hate. Listen, Tony, you hate Aaron Rodgers. I am not a fan of Aaron Rodgers. Amon, huge fan of Aaron Rodgers. Huge fan of Aaron Rodgers. But guess what? If he's playing, we're watching. Doesn't matter. We can talk about the way that retired players are treated. We can talk about, Goodell screwing over suspensions and Deshaun Watson's handling and all this other stuff. We're still going to tune in Thursday. We're still going to tune in on Sunday and Monday night. Like, it is what it is. It's a dirty game, and we're all a part of it. And Cleveland, among other teams, let's not forget, Cleveland wasn't the only one chasing him. Like, Atlanta threw everything at him.
Carolina.
New Orleans did. Carolina. Indy was trying. Like, we talk about Indy. Like, Indy was trying to get him. So, again, we've all got blood on our hands. We've all got messy bodies with this. But getting back to Baker Mayfield, like, you're just not that guy. Like, he doesn't – there's nothing about him as an it factor. Like, what worked in college? Like, you kind of mentioned it, Tony. You were the coolest kid in high school. Cool, man. We're not in high school anymore. You were the coolest kid in college. Cool. We're not in college anymore. That makes you – how many times have we seen players who went to Division II schools, undrafted guys? I mean, Tom Brady, we talk about 6th-round draft pick. He shouldn't even have made the team. Greatest quarterback of all time. Like, it doesn't matter where you get drafted. It's how you handle everything. And Baker Mayfield, almost from the beginning, has not handled it the best.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Because I think he gets overwhelmed, and when he does have to kind of answer, like, I know the one thing that happened, he had like a full beard, and then like at halftime or whatever, he goes in and like shaves it down to this weird like 90s porno stash, which, like, yeah, that to me is weird. Yeah, I could definitely see the dirty game, and yeah, it is entertainment, which again is why I don't see why people aren't willing to take more of a chance on Baker, because look at all the commercials, like they're putting him out there, like he's entertaining. If nothing else, he's entertainment. And I mean, if you're a team like Washington, you need all the help you can get. You need all the
Washington
help
made sense before Wentz. It actually did. Washington made sense before Wentz.
Yeah, and I 100% agree, but it is what it is, unfortunately.
Amon, as a huge Aaron Rodgers fan, what do you think of his handling of everything?
I resent the huge Aaron Rodgers fan thing because that's definitely not true. Definitely not true. But with with the whole Baker Mayfield thing, I think the Browns kind of messed up by saying they want an adult in the room. Honestly, I think that's hurting their opportunity of getting any compensation for Baker Mayfield for trying to get anything. Because even if the stats are the stats, right? The stats are going to look fine, and everyone knows he's not the guy. But if you don't come out with that quote, then they're saying, can he have some of that leadership? Because that was his big draw in college, right? It was his ability to kind of rally a locker room. And again, I never really saw it like that, but but that's kind of what everyone saw out of Baker Mayfield. And so if you can at least hold on to that, then you're okay. Then you'll be fine. Then you can get a 3rd round pick, a 2nd round pick. No one's giving you a 1st, but you can get some of these draft picks. And they just couldn't do that. They held themselves out of it. And again, I think Baker Mayfield, as good as price as he may be a starting caliber quarterback, I think the price tag that he has and also just the drama behind him, I'm just not sure which teams are going to be willing to take a chance.
He went from being the Pied Piper to one of the snakes.
Yeah, I could see that. All right, so we'll move into the last topic of the night, college basketball, because it was absolutely crazy over the entire weekend, and that is the Sweet 16. So who's got me on? Terrible echo. So we've got Gonzaga versus Arkansas, Texas Tech versus Duke, UNC versus UCLA, Purdue versus St. Peter's, Arizona versus Houston, Michigan versus Villanova, Kansas versus Providence, and Iowa State versus Miami. So, Amon, I will start with you. Who do you think moves on into at least the Elite Eight?
So I have Arizona win the whole thing. So Arizona is going to beat Houston. That was my pick from the very beginning. So I'm hoping that things pulls out because Murray State very much let me down. I think Villanova beats Michigan. I think Michigan's had a good run. They've played really good basketball in this tournament. I think they kind of go back to old ways. I think Villanova has shown – I think they've been very underrated as we've come in, even as a number 2 seed. I still think they show very good defense. They come in, they can score from all 3 levels. So I like them there. I think Kansas falls. I think Kansas kind of flusters. I think Providence has been a team that I didn't really know of going in. And as I see more and more of them, I just see them able to do some different things that can create problems for Kansas. I think they can get inside on Kansas. And then Kansas is they're pretty much a wing shooting team. They play defense on the perimeter. I just think what Providence can do inside is going to hurt Kansas's ability. And then I like Miami. Miami surprised me. I think they beat Auburn to get into this game. And I did not think they were going to beat Auburn. But they look like the better team than Iowa State. So if you give me that side, I got Arizona, I got Nova, and then I got Providence and Miami.
Okay, Joe, who do you have?
Listen, there's one team that matters and only one team that matters. I'm going to save them for last. Listen, I think Gonzaga is going to win it all. I just think the blend of experience. I mean, we saw what is it Timmy? Yeah, or Timmy? Yeah. I mean. That second half was incredible the other night. I haven't been able to watch much basketball, but what he was able to do, like that's a veteran presence that in March makes a huge deal. Like that is a grown man, as they say right there. So I think Gonzaga beats Arkansas. Texas Tech beats Duke because Duke should lose. I mean, that's just the way that it is. So Texas Tech beats Duke. I have no rhyme or reason behind it other than Duke sucks and they should lose. We're going to skip the next game. Again, I think Purdue, really the Big Ten came in with a lot of hope, and more so than Michigan, getting to this level, I think Purdue is the one that's going to try and carry them to their Final Four hopes. So I think that they're going to finally end the Cinderella run. Iowa State, man, I don't know. We talked about them in football. We talked about them, this college football season kind of being this surprise team. They're doing it in basketball too, along with Miami. But I think Iowa State's going to win here. Again, Kansas, it's Kansas. Again, like I expect them to lose some dumb game in like the Final Four because that's what they do sometimes. So they'll probably make it all the way there and then lose to Auburn or something. The next game, I have to go Villanova for one simple reason. The other team is Michigan. It kind of goes back to my Duke thing. And Michigan sucks, and I hate Michigan. And the world should not reward people for doing bad things other than me. I'm okay. You can reward me. But yeah, Michigan's going to lose. And again, Auburn moving on. But to get to the most important game, the only team that matters, the University of North Carolina, right down in Amon's neighborhood, beating UCLA, those preppy kids from SoCal, as they call it. Nope, I don't care. Go back to your Maseratis. Go back to your TikTok videos. Go back to following Jackson Mahomes. We're going to move on. We're going to win, and we are going to show the world what Hubert Davis and the North Carolina Tar Heels are all about.
Okay.
Disclaimer, please do not bet my picks. Please do not bet my picks. If you don't have any money at all, please do not bet my picks.
I do have to say, Joe, I do have one argument. If the military has taught me anything, more specifically the particular branch that I'm in, because I'm still a part of them, and they could, of course, screw me over because that's their whole entire prerogative, that shall be renamed unnamed. If there's anything I've been taught, dirtbags get rewarded for doing dirtbag things. So
Just gonna win it all, man. Oh.
I have Duke in the finals, bro. I have Duke losing at Arizona in the final. I can't be up front with you. So
exactly. So yeah, if it's me, I'm gonna say Gonzaga wins over Arkansas. I think Duke wins over Texas Tech. I have Carolina over UCLA. You know what? I'm gonna go with the Cinderella story. I'm gonna say St. Peter's over Purdue.
Wow.
And here's why I say that. Purdue has been so bad here the last few games about closing it out. And that's what scares me. It's not even like Purdue takes this like massively big lead either and like then just like takes their foot off the gas pedal. They let the other team stay in, and then they're like, oh, we'll just flop it away. It's like I don't even know how they've continued to get this far. Like I watched them the last few regular season games. I'm like, Purdue? What are you doing? What are you doing? Like you're supposed to be the top team. What are you doing? So I'm gonna go with St. Peter's. I do agree Arizona over Houston, and honestly, I say that because there's a team that ended up unfortunately getting eliminated super early, and I think it's because they took on Gonzaga like literally the next round, and that's Memphis. I really liked Memphis. I watched the 2 games with Houston and Memphis, and when I tell you Memphis brought it hard to Houston, they brought it extremely difficultly. So I don't think they could handle a team like Arizona and continue to move forward. I'm going to go with another upset. I'm going to go with Michigan over Villanova. I know, Joe. I know.
Picking the bad guys.
Right.
So disappointed.
Picking the bad guys. Dirtbags get rewarded for being dirtbags. I am going to go with Kansas over Providence, though, because kind of the same thing. It's like once Providence won their section title, it's just like, okay, we're in. We don't have to try no more. They just let it go, and I feel like that just kind of hurts you as you go into the tournament. Like you need all the momentum you can get, man. Just keep going, keep dominating. Keep doing stuff to work on. And I'll be honest, this last one, I don't think anybody expected. I in a million years, I would have never expected Iowa State or Miami to be here in basketball. You know what? Just because I had worked with a guy that was a huge Hawkeyes fan, and I know he hates the Cyclone, I'm gonna go with Iowa State. I'm gonna go with Iowa State over Miami. Why not?
We are so scientific here.
I was trying to figure out what is he gonna say.
Like, wait, where is this? Where is this?
Where is this going?
Where is this gonna lead? There's no facts or statistics behind this.
I do have an upset I didn't bring up though. I do have one. I have Arkansas beating Gonzaga.
I could see that because
what Arkansas has done, they can slow the game down. They play great defense. They're not great offensively, but I think when you slow the game down against Gonzaga, they can struggle. If you push them on the defensive side of the things, I think they can kind of wilt under it. I don't know. I just feel Arkansas can creep up into this one and get Gonzaga here.
And I always feel like Gonzaga, even if you look at last year, I feel like they don't really ever face any tough competition until they get to this point because they're always like a top seed. And then they just face like bottom feeder teams.
Well, they make their own schedule. So they choose who they play. They're like Notre Dame in the regular season. They just pick whoever they want to play. And then they get number 1 seed and then go into the Elite Eight. And then, all right, now the road tournament starts.
Right. And I feel like that's what happened last year too. It's like, oh, Gonzaga's out. It's like, yeah, they kind of needed to be. It's going to happen.
I just looked at my bracket. And as a matter of fact, I did have Iowa State in the Sweet 16. So that one. I did. I filled out one bracket. I had Iowa State in the Sweet 16. I don't know why. Sweet 16. They probably played a team I didn't like.
I know they started out playing LSU. Yeah, because I remember the girlfriend asked me, and I was like, "I think LSU would win." I was like, "It's Iowa State." Like, I mean,
that's why.
So I get it. But yeah, guys, this has been a great episode. Like always, I feel like we always get a lot of laughs. We're very logical here. None of this is through emotion. We love all players equally, all number 11s, all number 12s. We love all of them equally. Hey, 1-1, baby, 1-1.
Listen, if I could make computer graphics, literally your avatar would be this plus 1 plus 1 equals 11.
Exactly.
So good.
And you can make the plus as a T for my first name and just make it that much better.
It'll go 1 plus slide up 1 equals
11. Exactly.
Oh, man.
Exactly. But yeah, this has been great, guys. Like always, we have a blast. Thank you all for watching. Please share. Please let us know how we did. Please interact with us. And we will see y'all next Wednesday with more great content, more great stuff. Obviously, the NFL offseason is going to continue to be crazy. We're eventually going to move into the NBA playoffs. And you know who we're not going to have to talk about? The guys in purple and gold, because they're not even going to make it in there.
And the Celtics are number 4 seed. We came back. We came back.
I know. I think Joe and I are probably the only 2 Pacers fans like in the entire world. I don't think we exist anymore. Even in Indiana, we don't exist anymore.
Before we go, I'm very disappointed in the facial hair game, guys. Really, I'm holding it down. Come on.
Hey, in my defense, I'm legally required to shave, sir.
In my defense, I can't grow facial hair, so it's just that's all I got for you, man.
Sir, I've been a rebel. That's why it took me like 6 years to promote. Thank you.
Have a good night, guys.
Y'all.
Tony, don't forget.
All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.